For the first pick of the Divisional Round Sunday Six Pack, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 3.5 at BetMGM, the official odds provider of the podcast. And before I get into all the reasons I like the Bucs, Stuck, any thoughts on buying off the three for people out there that are only getting a 3 at their book? Any thoughts of how much you would pay to buy off the 3 to the 3.5?
Yeah, I'd always 3 is obviously the most key number in NFL betting. Sorry, say it again. What the hell?
Yeah, same thing for me.
3 is obviously the most key number in NFL betting. It's the number that games land on most frequently. 3 and 7 are kings. When it comes to 3, if you're laying, if you have a 2.5 point underdog, buying up to 3 is obviously key. Or if you have a 3-point underdog, I don't do it as much, but here I would. If you can get up to minus 120, getting onto the 3 from a plus 2.5 point dog, it depends. There's a lot of other factors here, but general rule of thumb, up to minus 125, it's worth it.
Yeah, I generally buy onto the 3 more than I buy off of it from 3 to 3.5. But yeah, I would recommend about the same 120, 125 if you can get it. But the reason I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, despite them getting swept in the season series by New Orleans, is I think Tampa Bay matches up pretty well with New Orleans. First of all, we know Tampa Bay can defend the run game. So Alvin Kamara, obviously, the biggest part of that Saints offense. In 2 games this year, Tampa Bay held Kamara to 9 carries for 40 yards and 12 for 16. So a total of just 56 yards on 21 carries, 2.7 yards per carry. For Alvin Kamara, Tampa Bay finished number 1 in running back yards per carry at 3.35 and number 1 in adjusted line yards, which adjusts for longer runs and takes some of the credit out of them. And they're still number 1 at 3.6. So this is the best run defense in the league. Tampa Bay also did a pretty good job on Kamara as a receiver, just 60 yards on 14 targets in the 2 games for Kamara. He did get a touchdown, but Tampa Bay is number 6 in DVOA on passes to running backs, according to Football Outsiders, and that's with facing the 3rd most schedule adjusted targets. So Tampa Bay should be able to have some success against Alvin Kamara. And then the same thing is true for Michael Thomas. You have Thomas in week 1 going 3 for 17 on 5 targets. He played 81% of the snaps in that game. And then he goes 5 for 51 on 6 targets, just 55% of the snaps in the rematch. But overall, that's just 8.5 yards per catch on his 8 catches against this team. Tampa Bay minus 15.6 DVOA against wide receiver ones, meaning they're 15.6% better than average against number 1 receivers. That's 6th in the league. And they face the 2nd most schedule adjusted targets per game to number 1. So I think they match up very well with both of the Saints' top players on offense. And then you look at Drew Brees, and he's still not throwing the ball down the field. Just an average depth of target of 6.0 in the regular season, 4.7 last week, 4.5 and 5.0 in the 2 games against Tampa. And Tampa's number 7 in DVOA against the short pass. So I think that it's going to be somewhat of a struggle for the Saints, even though they put up big numbers in the other 2 games. One was just that primetime game where Tampa Bay just didn't show up. I expect a better effort this time around. But I think you look at the other side of the ball now, and what killed Tom Brady in that second matchup was he was without Ali Marpet, who's the number 3 rated guard according to Pro Football Focus. And Brady struggled against pressure. He was under pressure on more than half of his dropbacks in that second matchup, and just 9 of 19 for 76 yards, 4 yards an attempt with a pick, 3 sacks. So I think with Marpet there, you'll see a much less pressured Brady. And then you look at how this team is playing recently. Tampa Bay faced a Washington defense that's one of the better defenses in all of football. Wait, hold on, let me find their DVOA right now. So last week, Tampa Bay faces Washington, which is obviously one of the best defenses in all football. They finished number 3 in defensive DVOA. New Orleans ranks number 2, so they're pretty much neck and neck. And Tampa Bay put up 507 yards of total offense. That was 69 yards more than Washington had allowed to any other team all season long. And even more promisingly, given that Brady has struggled under pressure against the Saints, Brady was pressured only 18.6 at the time, which is 7% lower than Washington's season average last week. So I think Tampa Bay, a lot of what they struggled with against New Orleans, I thought was, in the first game, it was kind of continuity related. The second game, it was game plan related with maybe some primetime kinks mixed in, just laid an egg. But I talked about this earlier in the year when I was writing about Tampa Bay. I think a lot of their issues against New Orleans are correctable. I think they match up well against New Orleans. So I have this game at a half point in favor of New Orleans. So I have these teams rated pretty evenly, and we can get into home field advantage, which just isn't worth that much this season. So I have this essentially as a coin flip game. Love getting Tampa Bay at the 3.5 here.